As this pandemic unfolded, things that many of us didn't think possible suddenly happened. Hundreds of thousands of commuters became telecommuters. Meetings, events, concerts went online instead of taking place in person. But some see all that as just the beginning. Jim Balsillie among them. He was, of course, chairman and co-CEO of Research in Motion, also known as Blackberry. He's chair of the Council of Canadian Innovators and the founder of CIGI, the Centre for International Governance Innovation, and he joins us now from Waterloo, Ontario. Mr. Balsillie, it's great to see you again. How are you doing?
I'm great, Stephen, and great to be with you. Thank you.
Not at all. A pleasure to have you with us again. Before we get to our annual questions, I guess, about Canada's innovation strategies, I do want to start with the news that, you're Canadarm right now. The company that makes Canadarm, that's McDonald Detweiler and Associates, which had been sold to foreign interests, is now repatriated to Canada. You're part of the group that's invested and got behind it. What made you want to invest in that project? Let's start there.
Well, I think it's going to be a good investment. Investments always have opportunities and risks to them, but commercializing communications infrastructure is something I'm familiar with. Plus, there's a global space race going on, so there's an enormous opportunity there, and it's really creating an opportunity for Canada to have a national champion. And it also is nice that it's on our $5 bill. It's a symbolic piece of Canadian pride and identity, and it's nice to see its headquarters and control brought back home.
So I infer from that you were a little peeved when ownership left the country.
I don't think it should have left the country. I think these are strategic assets, and we have to have an updated lens to understand their dual nature of prosperity and security. And when you start to look at all the spillovers when these things leave, one wouldn't let them leave if they had the choice not to.
Understood. Let's start our innovation discussion now by quoting from a piece that you wrote for the National Post earlier this month. And here's an excerpt from that piece. Crises always clarify priorities. The COVID-19 crisis provides an ironic opportunity for Canada because over the course of a few months, it induced structural changes that are normally spread out over years. We can use this moment to start building an innovative, sustainable, inclusive, and resilient national economy. Now, to say that you want to build an innovative, sustainable, inclusive, and resilient national economy suggests that we don't have one right now. Is that right?
That is true.
And why don't we have one right now?
The main reason is that the ideas economy is an abstract construct that's created by government and changed hundreds of times a day. So it's the opposite of this neoliberal orthodoxy that has overtaken us for the past few decades. There's a lot of merit in neoliberalism, in liberalizing trade, getting rid of tariffs, freeing the movement of goods. But the ideas economy works in the opposite of that. It's based on a principle of restriction, and so it's the opposite of free trade. And you've got to have the technical expertise and the engagement if you want to be effective in this realm. And it's important to know that these technologies are cross-cutting or dual use. They're about sovereignty and security, but also about prosperity at the same time. So the pandemic has really focused us on the role of the government and the important role of the government. And so this is the opportunity to rethink these past approaches.
So it's kind of a let's not let this crisis go to waste type of thinking.
A lot of that, you're right.
You recently appeared before a parliamentary committee, and among the many recommendations you made to the committee, you suggested the creation of something you're calling an innovation corporation. What is that, and what would it do?
Well, it's more an innovation core, like a Peace Corps. And the idea is there was a study in U of T a couple of years ago. We've had an enormous brain drain in this country. And there were also surveys in the top computer science realms that at University of Waterloo, where 90% of the cohort were leaving Canada. And these are the gifted, scarce skills that can build this country. And so we should turn our attention to why don't you stay in Canada, and what does it take for you to stay in Canada and build the career you want? And so because the border has been closed, we have a kind of a temporary monopoly on these skills, but the moment it opens, so that's a chance to show and create plans why they should build their future and stay here rather than leave. And so that's really what I meant is a designed approach for maybe the 6, 8, whatever months, 12 months we've got, where they can stay here. Let's use this as an opportunity to build the future.
That is a tragedy where we lose 90% of our best and brightest that we are actually helping to educate with our own tax dollars. Why are they leaving in such huge numbers?
I think it's because in the neoliberal approach we've had in the past era, uh, this hands off where we say everybody come in and take our best intellectual property, come and buy our most promising companies, come and hire our most promising people, and that's all good, has really meant that the best of the opportunities are abroad, and it's a function of design of policy.
Hmm. You've also called for a national data strategy. What would be the benefit of such a move?
Well, data is really the most strategic and important asset in this new factor of production called AI and machine learning. So we need strategies to ensure that we control our data because it controls who and what it interacts with. So it's a prosperity factor, it's a national security factor, it's a public good. And so it's very important that we control our own data and turn it into something that we make sure that we use to make a better country in all those realms I've just mentioned.
Are there other countries in the world which do this that we could learn from?
Oh, absolutely. Most advanced countries have very developed data strategies. You just need to look at the United States and how they've projected their corporate interests in the USMCA and all the what is now the Section 19 of the USMCA, and they embedded all their interests in that trade agreement. You look at how the Europe has done GPRS in all of their strategies for strategic investment, for strategic foreign direct management, for competition, for taxation, and also the data governance. So yeah, we see this very strategically managed around the world, and of course China for their totalitarian ways, which I don't agree with, but it's a strategy. And so what is our strategy? And is it not far past time for us to do strategic action?
Well, I was going to ask, why are we so late to that party?
I think the primary reason is that we've got to overcome the regulatory capture of foreign interests with the federal government, that what's good for them is somehow supposed to be what's good for us, but it's entirely the opposite. I think we had this outdated orthodoxy of hands off when in fact these are extremely hands-on realms, and they're technical, and so you have to have a real focus on expertise. And I've been doing some teaching at the Canada School for new senior civil servants, and we need much more education, almost akin to digital boot camps for all civil servants, so that they have the technical upgrading to navigate these new factors, because they permeate all aspects of society and public policy.
I read that you also want a health data strategy. How come?
Well, again, data controls who and what it interacts with, and health data can be we need rules around how we regulate and control and how we invest in health data. And it's a tremendous potential force for good, both in a pandemic and out of a pandemic, for personal care, for public care. It's also a tremendous opportunity to drive prosperity in creating more and more products and services that are related to data. But there's a downside where we can lose control of the security of our data, and lose our privacy in it if we don't manage it carefully. So all of that would be wrapped in a data strategy for the vertical of the health sector.
Is that some of what the former Liberal cabinet minister, Dr. Jane Philpott, is doing for the Ontario government now?
Well, Jane Philpott, who's a real great Canadian, is looking at some of that in the Panther. I don't think she has the prosperity lens per se, though I would expect the government to meld that in very quickly. But she certainly is looking at the public good aspects of data and how we can better provide healthcare and better provide addressing the pandemic and not incur the issues of the loss of security and loss of sovereignty and loss of privacy along the way. So she's certainly got those two axes of the benefit in terms of the public good and private good with the and not have the downside. But I think when you bring in the third dimension of prosperity in there, that's not currently in her remit, but I think that will be considered very soon by the public policy leaders and politicians.
Do I hear that maybe she should have you on speed dial and get some advice from you on this?
I know Jane. I consider her a friend. I consider a great Canadian. Her sense of public service and her fundamental decency makes her a very easy person to respect and admire. And I do keep in touch with her as a friend and on other issues when she was in Ottawa, before she was in this position. And I've spoken to her a little bit while she's in this position, but she's her own person doing her own leadership. And I know she'll do great public service.
Gotcha. You've talked in the past about the importance of stopping the leakage of our strategic assets. Talk to us about the nature of that problem. What's that about?
Well, the nature of intangibles is that they can move around the world or out of our borders with the stroke of a pen or the click of a mouse. And so you have to have very deliberate strategies to make sure that they don't leak away on you. And so that's what I mean by this non-neoliberalism. And we had decades of public sector investment where in, say, fundamental AI at the University of Toronto that was transferred because one researcher wanted to do it. And we have a dozen of our top universities partnering with Huawei, where all of the IP leaks out of the country to help China's prosperity and security. We had a smart city strategy where we let the urban data governance design go to a vendor from Silicon Valley, and we have an outdated Investment Canada Act where we don't look at these intangibles and how they can leak in the spillovers. We take a very narrow traditional lens. So intangible assets of IP and data can be gone at the blink of an eye if you don't pay attention to them. And we need updated approaches like all other advanced innovation nations are doing it. The Americans do it, the Southeast Asians do it, the EU does it, and UK and Germany and Italy and France. So we just have to get with the program.
Get with the program. So we're not doing a very good job right now at preventing the poaching of our key strategic technical assets. Is that right?
Oh, we put out a sign and say, come help yourself. It's not even
Okay.
preventing the poaching. We make it an instrument of public policy to say, come help yourself to these, because it's predicated on a tangible economy model where the branch plant brings with it knowledge and skills. But in the ideas economy, the FDI, foreign direct investment, exfiltrates, takes away the knowledge and skills. They get appropriated to the head office where all of the senior management functions are, and all the tax benefits and all the wealth benefits and all the strategic and security benefits come. So directionally, the effect of foreign direct investment works opposite in the ideas economy than it does for the traditional manufacturing economy. And that's what I mean by we haven't updated our lens. So it's like having a pro-smoking campaign to help people's health. It's counterproductive.
I want to ask you about the Toronto waterfront, because the last time you were on our program, you really expressed a great deal of concern about the accumulation of information that would have taken place had Sidewalk Labs been granted the right and gone through with this proposal to build on the Toronto waterfront. We know, of course, that they've decided to walk away from that. I guess, I don't know, 6-7 weeks ago, they decided to do that. Do I presume you are pleased at that development?
Yes, I am pleased. I think it's a very good day for citizenship and democracy. And it's if we want to do smart cities, it's an opportunity to do it right. rather than trying to cope with the original sins of the original project.
Now, if it had been a Canadian conglomerate as opposed to an American one that had put the idea forward to redevelop the waterfront as they had planned, would you have been okay with that?
No, the thing is that these have to be done between citizens and their government. And the fact that the Prime Minister said he'd been speaking to Google about this for 2 years privately in advance of this is a post-political approach rather than a democratic approach. The second thing, which we've talked about in terms of data governance and data strategy, we don't have the regulatory frameworks and we don't have the policies and rules and legislation to manage these things. So those have to be done up front before you engage on any kind of smart city. But if you do that, then you ask the question, would you rather have foreign companies be invited in or domestic ones? And that goes back to my branch plant spillover analysis, that any form of updated analysis would show the positive spillovers of using domestic headquartered vendors rather than foreign ones. So we have to ask our question, are we interested in Canada's prosperity? Are we interested in foreign prosperity when we do these kinds of policies? And I would say, all other things being equal, if the first two elements that I mentioned are addressed, then I would think we would have to focus on paying for our country and our province because no one else is going to do it for us. So then you would try to engage with domestic innovators if at all possible. But they weren't included in the decision. They weren't factored in it. They weren't consulted. And this is not what other advanced innovation economies would do. It's unimaginable that they wouldn't begin with engagement with their domestic innovators on. And you have to remember, Canada's the most urban nation in the world, with tied with Brazil at 80% of our populations. This is an enormous opportunity for us to be clean tech innovators, because smart cities is the largest sector in green technology.
I want to ask you about something. Well, this was a big announcement last week. The Prime Minister of the country and the Premier of Ontario both made this announcement about a new app for contact tracing that would presumably help put an iron ring around the treatment of COVID-19 and help us get to the bottom of who's got it and how they got it. I wonder if this is consistent with the sort of health data approach we just talked about earlier. I gather the idea is going to be people voluntarily sign up for it, but it doesn't give any identifying information about, no GPS like stuff, not where you are and, who you're talking to and all of this kind of stuff. Are you okay with this approach that both those governments have announced?
Well, I have to analyze the details of it. It hasn't been released yet, and I look forward to analyzing the app in detail when it comes out. We have to keep in mind that these kinds of applications require a precise set of requirements for them to work effectively. Human interactions are very complex, and the transmission of the disease is also very complex. So will the nature of this application pick up the nuances of these interactions, and will it also adhere to privacy requirements? You need a very rare incidence of the disease, and then you also need ubiquitous rapid testing for it to be effective. So if you don't meet those criteria, then you have a high risk of false positives and false negatives that could take down the trust in the app. So it's in a kind of a research phase right now, this application. I look forward to analyzing it. It could be an important piece in the toolbox down the road, but we have to beware of tech solutionism, that there's no bypassing having expert case trackers in our public health system doing what they're known and trained to do, and also making sure they have the best technologies in case management and that, like, for technology to help them do their job.
Well, that's what I wonder. Let me follow up on that. Do you imagine that we are going to be, quote unquote, good citizens enough to have 60% of us download that app into our smartphones and participate in this thing? Or are we too scared of technology to take a flyer on this?
Well, they had a survey recently that something attuned to 60% of Canadians would not do it, and those are with smartphones. And I think we have 60 or 70% penetration right now. And this 60% has to be in each region for it to be effective. So it's not an average. You can't have 90% in one area and region and 40% in another. It has to be in each pocket around the country. So as I said, and then you have to have ubiquitous rapid testing, because these systems are predicated on, once you get this rare notice of a signal that there might be somebody with it, you have this rapid closing in on it with a lot of resources. So as I said, it has a tight set of requirements for it to be effective. I look forward to analyzing what is the application, how does it fit with the nuanced and complex realities of human interaction and the disease transmission, and is it something that can be effective, or could it do more harm than good? And there's been a lot of those issues around the world that have tried these applications before. So we shouldn't look for tech solutionism, but we should also be exploring it as a research opportunity that possibly it could become part of the toolkit and at some time down the road. And I certainly hope it could be.
And I hope at that point down the road, you'll take our calls and accept another invitation to come back on this program and talk about it.
It's I'm happy to, anytime.
Good stuff. Jim Balsillie, thanks so much for joining us on TVO tonight. It's great to see you again.
It's a pleasure to be with you, Stephen.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. CPA Ontario is a regulator, an educator, a thought leader, and an advocate. We protect the public. We advance our profession. We guide our CPAs. We are CPA Ontario. And by viewers like you. Thank you.